You are 7 years old. You are watching your father leave for work before the sun comes up. He does this every day. And every day he comes home with the same tired that sleep never fixes. You don't have a word for it yet, but you feel it. The specific weight of a life spent building something that will always belong to someone else. You watch him button his jacket in the dark hallway. You watch him check his keys. You watch him close the door quietly so he doesn't wake the house. And something shifts inside you so quietly that you don't even recognize it as a decision. Never again. Not for you. Not for your children. Not for anyone who comes after you. That feeling is where every self-made billionaire story actually starts. Not in a boardroom, not in a garage, not with a genius idea or a lucky break. In a feeling you refuse to make peace with. This is every level of what that journey actually looks like, all the way to the top. Level 1, the why. You are not remarkable yet. Nobody in your city is watching you. Nobody is betting on you. Nobody has any reason to believe you will become anything other than what your circumstances suggest. But something inside you refuses to settle. It doesn't feel like ambition yet, just a low-grade refusal. A refusal to accept the ceiling that was built above you before you were born. You read everything you can find about people who built something from nothing, not to admire them, to reverse engineer them. And researchers who studied the world's self-made billionaires found something most people overlook. While other children were working hourly jobs for pocket money, the majority of eventual billionaires were already in business or sales before they finished school. The instinct was always there, long before the opportunity. You start small, reselling things, fixing what others throw away, trading your time for information instead of wages. Every dollar you make this way feels different from a dollar you are given, heavier somehow, more real. You don't know it yet, but you are building the most important asset a self-made person ever develops. Not capital, evidence. Evidence to yourself that the gap between where you are and where you want to be is crossable, one decision at a time. Level 2, the hunger. You are in your early 20s. You have an idea. Not a perfect idea, not a fully formed idea, just a problem you keep noticing that nobody around you seems to be solving correctly. You start with very little money, with no connections, with a phone and a laptop and more hours than cents. Your friends are living their lives on Friday nights. You are testing your first version of something that barely works. The first version fails, so you rebuild it. The second version fails differently. So you rebuild it again. This is the part they always skip in the documentaries. The months of nobody caring, the emails that go unanswered, the product that works perfectly and sells to almost no one. Research on self-made billionaires found one trait that separates them from everyone else at this exact stage. Where most people experience failure as a permanent verdict on their abilities, billionaires process it as data. Expensive, high-speed, brutally honest data about what doesn't work yet. They are not more talented. They are more willing to be wrong in public and keep going anyway. Most people quit here, not because they lack talent, because they thought the idea was supposed to be easier to prove than this. You don't quit. You get more specific about the problem. Level 3, the first proof. Something works. Not everything, not even most things. Something. A small group of people are paying you real money to solve a real problem in their life. It is not enough to live on yet. It is not enough to tell anyone about yet. But it is enough to confirm that you were not imagining the problem. Someone else felt it too. This moment is more important than your first million. Because before this moment, you were running on belief. After this moment, you are running on data. And data is a completely different kind of fuel. Here is what almost nobody talks about when they talk about self-made wealth. According to a large national study of millionaires, 79% of them received no inheritance at all, not a leg up, not a safety net, nothing. And 8 out of 10 came from families at or below middle income. The version of this story that starts with a trust fund is the exception, not the rule. You hire your first person. It is the most terrifying professional decision you have ever made. Not the money, the responsibility. Someone is now depending on the quality of your judgment to feed their family. That weight does not get lighter as you grow. It multiplies, and you learn to carry it, or you learn to stop growing. There is no third option. Level 4, the climb. You are growing now, not explosively, methodically. You understand your customer better than they understand themselves. You know exactly which problem you solve, and exactly who has that problem, and exactly what they will pay to have it removed from their life. Then, a major competitor notices you. More money, more people, more infrastructure. They move into your space the way a large ship moves toward a small boat, deliberately, without urgency. You have 2 choices: run to a corner they cannot reach, or outmaneuver them on the thing they are too large and too comfortable to do quickly. And this is where the psychology separates them from everyone else in the room. Studies on the ultra-wealthy found one trait that separates them from everyone else. They are not more emotionally reactive. While others panic, rage, or freeze, billionaires process the same information and feel significantly less emotional disturbance. Not because they don't care, because they trained themselves not to be moved by what they cannot control. Calmness at this level is not a personality trait. It is a competitive weapon. You choose speed. You build in 3 weeks what would take them 3 quarters. You do not beat them with resources. You beat them with the one advantage a small, hungry company always has over a large, comfortable one. You have more to lose. Level 5, the breakout. The number changes. You cross 8 figures for the first time. You expected to feel different. You feel the same. The problems are just larger now. But something has shifted in how the world treats you. Doors that required 10 follow-up emails now open on the first call. Rooms that were previously invisible to you suddenly have a seat with your name on it. You realize something uncomfortable. The world did not change. Your proximity to resources changed. And the world responds to resources the way plants respond to sunlight. It simply turns toward them. Researchers who spent years interviewing self-made billionaires found one finding that stops everyone cold. They are not motivated by money. Every single one of them said the wealth arrived as a side effect, not a goal. Steve Jobs said he was worth over $100 million by 25, and it wasn't important. Because he never did it for the money. The ones who chase the number alone almost never get there. The ones who become obsessed with the problem almost always do. This is the moment most first-generation builders make the critical mistake. They start believing the access is about who they are. It is about what they built. The ones who remember that distinction keep building. The ones who forget it start protecting instead of growing. You remember. Level 6, the 100 million. You are managing something now that is larger than any single person's ability to fully understand, including yours. You hire people smarter than you in every room that matters. This is harder than it sounds. Because getting to this level required trusting your own judgment above almost everyone else's. Now the job is to trust other people's judgment in the areas where yours runs out. That transition is where many founders get stuck forever. They built something remarkable, then could not let it grow beyond what they personally could control. And here is the data point that reframes everything most people believe about this journey. The average age of a first-time self-made billionaire is 51. Not 25, not 30, 51. The decade most people have already written off as too late is statistically the decade most billionaires arrive. The idea that you missed your window is not a fact. It is a story you are telling yourself while the window is still open. You let go, not of the vision, not of the standard, of the need to be the most important person in every decision. The company starts to breathe on its own, and you feel something you did not expect. Not pride exactly, something quieter. The specific satisfaction of watching something you imagined in a small room with no money and no proof become something that exists in the world without you having to hold it up. That feeling is worth every version that failed. Level 7. The Billion. The number arrives, not with fanfare, not with a ceremony, with a spreadsheet. Your CFO walks you through the valuation. You ask 3 questions, you sign 2 documents, and that is it. From the outside, the word sounds like arrival. From the inside, it feels like the beginning of a completely different set of problems. Your relationships change, not because you changed, because the number changes what other people project onto you. Strangers want things from you. Old friends feel different around you. New people are impossible to read clearly. Psychologists who study extreme wealth documented what they call sudden wealth syndrome. Not a clinical diagnosis, but a well-observed pattern. The weight of what you have accumulated, the expectations, the isolation, the way money distorts every human interaction it touches, changes people in ways no financial advisor ever puts in the plan. Studies on millionaires found they rate their happiness at around 8 out of 10. Not 10, 8. The money solves the problems you had before the money. It arrives with an entirely new set. The ones who survive it well invested in relationships with the same discipline they invested in the business. Before the number arrived, not after. Before. Level 8. The weight of scale. You are not just a founder anymore. You are infrastructure. The decisions you make in a single afternoon affect thousands of families directly and millions of people indirectly. That is not metaphor. That is a Tuesday. You fund a research program that changes a medical outcome for people you will never meet. You make a hiring decision that unlocks a career for someone who needed exactly that specific chance. You choose not to enter a market, and a smaller company that would have been crushed by your arrival grows into something meaningful instead. And here is the finding that changes how you understand all of it. Research confirmed that self-made billionaires, the ones who built it from nothing, are significantly happier than those who inherited the same amount of wealth. It is not the money that generates the satisfaction. It is the building, the struggle, the long sequence of levels that most people never survive long enough to reach. The destination was never the point. The process of becoming someone capable of reaching it, that is where the fulfillment actually lives. Power at this level is not the ability to take things. It is the ability to create conditions where things become possible that were not possible before. You have everything you could spend in 3 lifetimes. The only question left is what you decide to build with the time you have remaining. That question has no financial answer, which is exactly what makes it the most important one you have ever faced. Now step all the way back. The 7-year-old in the dark hallway. The 20-something rebuilding something nobody asked for yet. The founder making payroll by $300. The CEO letting go of control to let something grow beyond them. The billionaire sitting alone with a loneliness the money never solved. Every level had one thing in common. The person moving through it could not fully see what the next level would actually feel like from where they were standing. They imagined the relief. They did not imagine the new weight the relief would bring with it. That is not a warning. That is the architecture of every worthwhile pursuit. The goal is not to reach a level where the weight disappears. The goal is to become someone whose shoulders are wide enough to carry a weight that matters. Because the weight that comes with building something real is not a burden. It is the proof that what you built is worth carrying. Your father made you. Everything after that was just the work. Start with the feeling. The rest follows.